Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a narration of a message that I received. The narration reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I have come here on your platform so that I can confess the evil that I did. So I had this other friend of mine, me and her, we went to the same school, but it seemed as if she had God blessings upon her life. And I saw this when we were now much older. Whenever I would hang around her, something good will always happen to me. But she never saw that indeed she had the blessings of the Lord upon her life. And it is very sad that God chooses to ignore those that are faithful to him, and he chooses to bless those ones that are not faithful to him. From a very young age, I was someone who loved God, who loved the God of the Bible with all of my heart, because as for my mother, she was quite a very strict woman. She never wanted us to get involved with these things of witch doctors and stuff like that, because from the family in which my father was born into, my father's mother, my grandmother, she loved using a lot of herbs, even though she was actually a nurse, but she preferred these home remedies. It's not like there is something that is bad with using the home remedies, but what started happening was that our grandmother, she then started saying that she was supposed to become a traditional healer. So at her place, it was always scary, because when we would go there, sometimes we would find a lot of cats, and when we would ask her where were these cats coming from, she will say that these are the spirits of the people that died and they were not given a proper burial, so they have come here. She had invited the spirits of the people who died in that area who didn't get a proper burial, so she invited them to come and to live at her house. Her house, it was really scary. She had an 8-bedroomed house in the suburbs, these affluent suburbs in Harare, and whenever we would go there for the holidays, I always hated it, and I was always scared to tell anyone that I was seeing at my grandmother's place, because my mom, she was someone who didn't like to sit down and have a discussion with her kids. She will always say that you need to pray. Her solution was to pray, prayer and prayer. There was this other time when we had gone for a holiday after the schools had closed. So we went and we started staying with my grandmother. Whilst we were at our grandmother's place, one night when we were sleeping, I then woke up. I then saw that my grandmother, she was standing right next to our bed, but close to our feet. That was where she was standing. I then asked her what she was doing there. When my grandmother replied me, I could not understand what she was trying to say, but the way that she spoke, I can give you an example of when someone speaks to you, but at the same time that person will be speaking to you using 8 different languages. It was more like gibberish, but to her it made sense, but to me it was quite scary, because whilst she was speaking with me, each and every voice, it had a different accent to it, as if there were spirits that were speaking through her body. She looked at me, Brother Nashi, then I saw her eyes disappearing into her head, and I saw that at the place where her eyes were supposed to be, there was nothing but darkness. That was when she laughed. Then she turned around. When she turned around, I didn't know what type of clothes she was wearing, because whilst she was looking at me, she was fully dressed, but the moment that she turned around, I saw that her buttocks, her back, everything was just left out in the open. This was really scary and strange to me. I woke up and I started praying. Whilst I was praying like that, there was a cat that just jumped out of nowhere. This cat that jumped out of nowhere, Brother Nashi, it then scratched me, because I was kneeling down whilst I was praying. So when this cat jumped out of nowhere, I didn't see it. My eyes were closed as I was asking God to bring his angels so that they can watch over me, because I was still feeling really sleepy. Then this cat just scratched me. I screamed, Brother Nashi, but when I screamed, my voice, it was like on mute. I was screaming out loud to my siblings so that they could wake up, but my voice, it was like it was on mute. No one heard me. I continued praying and praying and praying until those cats ran away. The next morning, when we woke up, my grandmother, she seemed irritated and angry about something, as if I had stolen something or I had wronged her. Later in the evening, I then saw my father's car. He was driving into the compound into my grandmother's compound, and this was more like unlike him, because whenever they would send us to our grandmother's parent, my mother and my father, they will say that this is their own time to have peace because we were too naughty. So throughout the holiday season, they would always avoid to come at our grandmother's house because they didn't want to be around us because of our naughtiness. Only after the holidays, that is when they would come and collect us. But when my father came on that day, I sensed that there was something that was really wrong. Throughout the day, my grandmother, I do not know how many times that she had actually pinched me for no reason at all. Whilst I was sweeping, she had pinched me and she had said that the thing that I was actually sweeping the house too slowly, and this is the thing that troubled me a lot. My father came back and he was like angry after he had spoken with my grandmother. Then my father told me to pack my clothes immediately and he was going to deal with me later on. Brother Nanshi, when we arrived back at our place, my mom was waiting for me. She had a belt that she had. She started beating me and I didn't know what is it that I had done wrong. When my mother was speaking with me, she then told me that my grandmother had caught me doing masturbation in the bathroom. I said, I have never done such a thing. I have not even started dating, but my mother started beating me so hard. Then when this whole scenario ended, my grandmother, until she passed away, she didn't want to have anything to do with me. And on my grandmother's burial, I was told that I had to apologize to her. So I went close to her coffin. I then asked my grandmother to forgive me and not for her I then asked my grandmother for her to forgive me before she will be buried. Then, Brother Nashi, our grandmother was buried. Fast forward, me and my friend, we were in college. She was dating a lot of men. You know, she has that blessing whereby today she can be proposed by a man that is wealthy. The next day, she will be dating another wealthy man that is much more wealthier than she is. But as for me, I was someone that was disciplined, Brother Nashi. But the men that I was dating, you know, those poverty-stricken men that you can see that this one, he just wants to sleep with me. He does not have any business to do with me when it comes to a much more serious relationship. So when we moved on to another country, to the foreign country where we are right now, jealousy overpowered me. It all started when we started working together. She was the one who called me and she told me that there was a job opening at the company where she was working. I submitted my CV and within a short period of time, I was at the embassy at the country where we are staying, and my papers, they were processed. I came here and I started staying with her. She was renting this beautiful apartment, but I quickly moved out because I wanted to do my own thing. I still wanted to be friends with her. I then moved to another apartment, but I started struggling, Brother Nashi, to find a man. I even tried to find a Christian guy, but still it was just the same. But as for my friend, she was drinking beer, going around prostituting herself, but still God was giving her all of these men that were actually crying for her hand in marriage. still remember this other local man who came to me and he said that he does not even understand what is happening to him. All that he wants is to get married to my friend. I tried to seduce that guy, but he stood resolute. He was such a strong Christian. I tried to tell him that the yoke that he wanted to be under, that yoke, it was forbidden in the Bible. It was far much better for him to date me since we were both strong Christians. But he kept on saying that he feels in his spirit that he needs to be married to my friend. I then said, if I can't have you, then my friend will never have you. So, Brother Nashi, there was a trip which I took and I returned back home. When I was returning back to this country where we are staying, I then asked my friend if she wanted anything. Oh, I did such an evil thing. So in Zim, we have this juice that is called mazoe, that concentrated juice. She loves it a lot. She loves that orange crush flavor. She said, sis, if you have any money, please buy at least 5 to 6 bottles, then I'll give you your money here. So I went and I bought a case of the mazoe concentrated juice and I returned back to this country. But before I had returned, Brother Nashi, I did something that was truly evil. You know, in Mbare, there are these herbalists that sell these herbs all over the street. I approached one of those men and I told him my condition. I told him that I have been struggling to get a man to marry me, but there is a man in that land, in the foreign land where I am working. This man, I want him to be mine, and if he cannot be mine, then me and my friend, both of us, we cannot have him. I would rather have him marry someone else that I do not even know than to have that heartbreak of forever knowing that he finally got married to my friend, because I loved him with all of my heart, a good man. I didn't want him to marry this prostitute friend of mine. I wanted him for myself. That healer then said that this was going to be very easy. It wasn't easy. He even claimed to have killed a lot of people. He said that he once killed the whole family after their son had stolen from this other big rich businessman who was there in Zim in Harare. Then that man came to him and he told him the man who had stolen from his house. So they went and they confronted the family, but the family called the police. So because they had done this evil towards his shrine, he then said, I want to punish you. The shrine is the one that is going to punish you. The whole family, they all started dying. He said that within 4 years, he had finished off an entire generation and he was proud about it. All of his customers, he would tell them about this story. He also told me that same story and I was really impressed by his powerful charms. He said, my daughter, I can see that there is an evil spirit that is in your body. What we are going to do, my daughter, is that I have this urine. He took this other bottle from amongst a lot of bottles that he had in this Changan bag. He said that, you see this urine. I said, is it your urine? Is it human urine? He said, no, this urine, it is collected from the forest. I have one of my friend who is a Malawian guy. He speaks with baboon. So he said that this Malawian guy, he can actually climb up the mountains early in the morning when the baboons are climbing down the mountain. That is when he will start to use the charms, and he can even communicate with the baboons and act as if he is also part of that troop of baboons. So he will make those baboons to urinate in the container that you will be holding. And this man was saying that he gets this urine that would have been made by the baboons from his Malawian friend. He said, my daughter, I want you to bath from this powerful baboon urine. And once you have bathed yourself with this powerful baboon urine, you are going to be okay. All the bad luck is going to run away. All the men, any man that you desire, that man is going to be yours. He then asked me if I knew the true purpose of this baboon urine when it is used on men. I said, no, I do not know. He then started laughing and he started showing me using his finger. So one of his hand, he had wrapped its up as showing me as if it was the private part of a woman, then the other finger on his other hand. So he was pushing it into the palm of his other hand, in and out, showing me that this urine, it is used by men when they want to become powerful in bed. He then said that, as for you, since you are a woman, I am going to teach you the seductive ways, so much that when you seduce a man, that man will want to stick by you. Brother Nashi, I was happy. He washed me. Oh yes, Brother Nashi. He took me to his house at Matapi. We climbed up the stairs at those flats until we had reached this other very dirty, small, one-roomed house. And he said, strip yourself naked. I stripped myself naked, and he said, spread your legs like this. I am not here to lust after your body. If I want a woman to sleep with, I will go and I will buy a prostitute and make love to that prostitute, not you. You are too young. So I spread my legs wide open. When I looked down, I then saw that there was a lizard that just appeared out of nowhere. This lizard, it seemed as if it was waiting for something to fall out of my private parts. Then that man, he pushed his fingers into my private parts. He started looking and looking. For a moment, I enjoyed it as he was doing me with his fingers. Finally, he started pulling this other worm that was very long. I didn't even know that when I was born, I had this worm that was inside my private parts. He then said, you see, this is the thing that has been giving you all of this bad luck. In medical terms, they call it fibroids, but in Zim we call it sare, which makes a woman to be hated by the men that she will be dating at that time. So that man said that this is the worm that has been giving birth to all of these fibroids that were all over your uterus. He then poured the baboon urine into that jug, and he started washing my private parts as he was inserting his fingers into my private parts. After the ritual was done, he said kneel down, and as I was kneeling down, he started touching my breast, and he touched them whilst he was washing my nipples. He said, this is the last remaining spot where the bad spirit will be residing, hiding away from the prophets as well as the pastors. After that, he said, you are done. Now you can go and wash yourself. Mix this baboon urine with clean water. Do not bath with soap, and then you are going to find the man of your dreams. But I knew that already I had this man that I wanted, the man of my dreams. I quickly rushed back home because on that same day, I wanted to catch the bus that was going to take me to that foreign country where I am currently working. After I had done these rituals, when I was walking, each and every man that I will come across will just greet me and say, hi, what is your name? Can I have your number? But I refused them all because I have my own, the man that I wanted to get married to. When I arrived here in this country where I am currently working, I then gave my friends that pack of mazoe. Unfortunately, Brother Nashi, the spirits that were inserted into that juice that I bought for her in Zim and brought it to South Africa, those spirits, they made her to go mentally ill. She became a mad woman. She used to run down the streets picking up food from the refuse bins until her relatives took her back home in Zim. But now she is back in this same country where we are currently staying. She is better now, but you can see that mentally she is not okay. She looks like she is someone who went through a lot of trauma. She does not want to tell me what exactly she saw at the time when she was mentally ill. As for that guy, unfortunately, he passed away. This man, I tried to seduce him, and yes, I did seduce him. And after he had made love to me, he cried, and I asked him why he was crying. He said that this is an evil act that he has done. He has cheated on the love of his life. I got so mad, and I cursed him, and I kicked him out of my apartment. When he was driving back to his own apartment, he jumped the red robot, and immediately he had and head on with this other truck. It was a big Isuzu truck. It hit his car on the side, and they said that his car, it spinned in the air several times until it finally landed. To save him, it was just futile, so they had to cut open the car's body so that they can remove his dead body, and he was in several pieces because of the impact. Oh, dear listeners, right there was a narration of a message that I received. It was sent to me by one of our dear sisters. I then asked her what profession is she doing. She said that I am an engineer, Brother Nashi. I am a structural engineer at this other company that I do not want to mention by name. But this is what I did to my own best friend. Strange things do happen.